Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bullish on Business, the podcast where we really spotlight leaders who are challenging the status quo and building bold, meaningful impact. Today, I'm joined by Sue Booth. Hi, Sue.
Hi Rose, how are you?
Good, good. Good to have you today. Well, Sue is an entrepreneur, a health advocate, and someone with over 40 years in the health and wellness arena. And Sue is one of my dear friends from the UK. As you may or may not know, I spent 10 years in the United Kingdom deploying my software with the NHS. And Sue and I became fast friends when I would go to her for facial treatments. And that was eons ago. And since then, Sue has always been a health advocate, like I said, for over 40 years. And now she is doing something that is a big breakthrough. And it started because of her incredible heart health journey. And that led her to become totally drug free for more than 6 years. And she now is on a mission to help people like you and me take ownership of their health and rethink what's possible. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I really appreciate being here. And hello to everyone out there.
Yeah, we're excited to hear your journey. So, let's start with that. Your personal story. What happened that shifted you from surviving heart health, that crisis, to thriving in a drug-free, like for over 6 years?
Yeah. So I'm going to take you back to 2017, 21st of December. It was my grandson's birthday, and at the age of 63, I changed my whole perspective on that day, on how I managed my health. The heart attack was not the best birthday present for my grandson, but it was. I just felt unwell all day, and I asked my husband Nigel, who you know well, to take me to the local hospital, to the emergency department. And I ended up having to walk in by myself because Nigel had to go and park the car. And I had had the heart attack in the car. And it wasn't that huge, painful experience that everyone thinks that they're going to go through. It felt like indigestion. And I just, apparently, all the colour drained out of my face completely. Nigel just said, "Are you okay?" And I went, "No." So anyway, fast forward later, my troponin levels were massively high, so 2,500. They should be on average between 15 and 17 for someone my age. And that really kind of denotes that you've actually had a heart episode. Um, they said, "We're going to keep you in overnight." And then I said, "Fine." And then kind of later on that evening, I got blue lighted to St Bartholomew's, which is the leading cardiothoracic hospital in London. And I had the main professor perform an angioplasty and three stents. I was then sent home on Christmas Eve with 7 medications that I was told I would be on for life. And when I questioned that with the surgeon, and I said, "What can I take naturally? I've never taken medication before." And I really am a bit adverse to going on to medication for the rest of my life. And he just said, "Forget it, love," in his good English accent. "You're on drugs now for the rest of your life." And I just kind of went, "Okay, we'll see about that." I started to recuperate, obviously. And now, if you kind of fast forward to May 2019, a dear friend, Dave, who you know well as well, asked me if my health was important to me. And I said, "Yeah, of course it is." He said, "If there was a test that you could do that would show how your diet, your lifestyle, your nutrition was impacting on your health, would that be something you'd like to know?" And I just went, "Absolutely. Yes, you bet." I had been on medication for 18 months. I hated it every single day, having to prepare my drug regime of all these different drugs caused me to be lethargic, heavier by 25 pounds. I don't know any woman who would like to put on that much weight. I wasn't enjoying life at all. I wasn't exercising as much as I could do just because I felt so off. Um, I was probably a bit low and not depressed, but I'm not a depressive person, but I just knew that I was not functioning as I should do. And I think, I've always known that our diets, however good we feel they are personally, it's never as perfect as it could be. And so I've always supplemented with high quality products, or so I thought. So when I did this test, he asked one question: how do you know that your supplements are working? Now, I've been a huge advocate of taking omega-3 because I'm very aware, having studied nutrition over the years, that it was essential for every single cell in our body. And our diets feature so much omega-6, which is the inflammatory omega. And I said, that's a really great question. I've got no idea if it's working. I hope so, because I've spent a huge amount of money on it. And but then I realized that actually I couldn't evaluate or compare to see whether it was improving my health. It probably wasn't, as we are about to find out. So when I did my test, I came back at what's called 14.4 to 1. So 14.4 of omega-6 to 1 of omega-3. We should be, as adults, about 3 to 1 or under for perfect cell health. And all of a sudden, I kind of went, this light bulb went on in my head, and I just went, I wonder if that's why I had the heart attack. I had gone through all the test results, and I was so shocked because having taken something for 34 years, you do expect a good result. It was appalling. It was absolutely appalling. And so I kind of went, well, I've made the decision to switch. So I switched to our product, and there's a small one here, Balance Oil, and I had done my test, as I said, which is this test here, which gives us the literally the parameters of how your body's handling inflammation. Within just a couple of months, I was seeing such great results. My blood pressure had normalized, my aches and pains had gone completely. And I've got osteoarthritis in my right knee, and that's just wear and tear, the doctor told me, and we're going to give you anti-inflammatories. I said, really don't want those, thank you. I'll manage it with diet. My mental clarity improved dramatically, so much so that after 3 months I started reducing my medication gradually, I should say. And that was after having a conversation with the doctor who formulated the products, Dr. Paul Clayton. And I then retested again. So I'd done one test before I started, one at 90 days and one at 120 days. So I'd gone from being all in the red to pretty well mostly green. And I just decided to make the slightly rash decision to stop my medication. Now, a lot of people have said to me, and this is my personal testimony, so I'm not making medical claims because I think it's really important that, people understand. This is not a cure-all, but it's something that actually people should consider if they're looking to improve their health. And I made a slight rash decision to stop my medication after reducing it gradually after the 3 month period. And Dr. Clayton said to me, do you trust me? And I said, yes, I do. Everything you've told me would happen, like the reduction in my blood pressure, everything had calmed down, my heartbeat, my cholesterol levels, everything was normalizing. I'd also lost those 25 pounds that I'd put on within a matter of weeks. And so it meant that my body was functioning so much better. And now I'm 6.5 years without any medication. It will be 7 years in October 2026. And it's actually changed my life. My doctor still goes to try to persuade me to go back on statins. I do take a red rice complex, which actually is a natural alternative to help reduce cholesterol, but along with a nutritional supplement that actually addresses my gut health as well. That's all I use, all these things. So it's about imagining people being able to take the guesswork out of your health. And I guess that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's had such an impact on me. And our test brace approach allows you to see your body's nutrient levels before and after 120 days. But our hero product, the balance oil, this little baby here, allows you to rectify those imbalances. And what I was, even though I'd studied nutrition, I wasn't really aware of how crucial that six omega-6 3 ratio is part of, in part of reducing inflammation. It improves the way your body manages inflammation. And if we consider that chronic inflammation is actually the foundation for all diseases, everything, um, I'm really proud to say that I've helped so many people, helping thousands to improve their health and wellness, but also I've actually built a business around it as well. So yeah, that's my story. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted, darling.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy. Sorry about that. I'm just so happy because number one, you're a dear friend. And to know that your health is improved and it's even gotten better, it just is amazing for you as one of my true friends and a loved one. Have you been able to persuade other family members and your loved ones to
Oh,
follow
yeah.
along with your journey?
So my grandchildren take the product, my son-in-law, my daughter, they all take the product. And what I mentioned earlier, that my daughter's just announced that she's expecting her third baby. Big 10-year gap it will be,
Wow.
from the second and my granddaughter. And so I said, just make sure you're taking your balance oil every single day, because your body leaches, or the baby pulls all that goodness out of your brain, and that's why people end up with baby brain, kind of postnatal depression, because the babies just pulled everything out of the mother to make sure that it's okay. And if
Wow.
you're not consuming um, line caught salmon and oily fish and mackerels, all these things, and it can't be a cheap form, because if it's farmed salmon, that's actually fed with omega-6s, so you're just adding to the problem.
Oh my
So
gosh.
been such an education, but it's I'm so blessed that the family and friends have all chosen to take in the product and swear by it as well, and I think it's my non-negotiable now, and it will be for the
Awesome.
rest.
Very good. Very, very cool. And I'm glad that you and Dave were able to take this journey together. How is Dave doing?
He's wonderful. He's wonderful. He's remarried, and he's very happy, and he's really good, really
I'm
good.
so happy to hear that too. Well, you've spent 4 decades in health and wellness space. What major changes, aside from this, have you seen, and where do you believe we all went wrong?
I don't think anyone believes that they went wrong. I think we've been fed so much information by food companies, and when you consider that food companies, all the products that we see on our shelves in our supermarkets are driven by maybe 7 or 8 different companies, and it's just an umbrella company that actually provides lots of things. And a huge amount of these products have bliss point technology. That means that it's a bit like, I mean, you have Pringles in the States, don't you?
Yes,
You have Pringles.
yes.
There's that catchy phrase, once you pop it, you can't stop it, or something.
Right,
And
right.
it's not even considered potato. It is now, they've just fought a law case I think in the UK, that it's not constituted as a food product.
Oh,
No
oh
potato
my
in
God.
it. No
Oh, that's
potato.
disgusting. I know that in the United States, we have RFK Jr., who is really a fan of getting rid of all of that processed food too. So, what do you usually eat in your diet?
My diet, I've got a pretty varied diet. I always cook fresh. I don't use any processed foods. We always cook fresh every night. I'll use some, kind of pasta, for instance. I'll eat pasta which has been dried pasta, or I'll buy fresh pasta. I don't make it myself. That's probably the only thing I don't make. But all the sauces and everything, I always make those from fresh.
Oh,
And it's understanding that every single bit of processed food, however, if it comes in a jar or a can or a packet, it's processed. End of.
mm,
And those will have an amount of, we've got so many seed oils and things that actually cause inflammation to be rife. And we know that, I mean, I know I've been in and out of America so many times, and I'm very aware that the diets of the average American, I'm saying average because I'm not going to tar everyone with the same brush, but a lot of them, I think I heard somewhere that one one in 15 meals is eaten at home and home cooked.
mm,
And that frightens me because it means that we're setting ourselves up for a lifetime during adulthood of inflammation and chronic problems.
mm,
So when you consider all the kind of the fast food outlets and everything, they're not doing us any favors. They are not doing us any favors. And once in a while, yeah, sure, everyone does it. I won't enter the golden arches, I'm afraid, but I
right.
refuse. I've refused point blank to. But every now and then we'll go for a Pizza Express or a kind of a
Mhm.
Domino's pizza. But that's as processed as I get. Um,
That takes discipline. You talk about, and I have heard you speak to this new health paradigm. What does that mean in terms for like everyday people? What would be a new health paradigm?
I mean, one of the things that when I first started taking this, one of the things I was said, it cuts out it's like the biohack. It's like the biohack. And the reason being is that if you can give your body all the things that you need in a little bottle, so it's dosed by weight, your weight, so whatever weight you are in pounds, you have a certain amount for that specific weight. Same with children. So every single person will be different to how much they take. So I take 10 mil per day. So 10 milliliters per day, which is a tablespoonful. Um, and all of a sudden, or in fact, it's under a tablespoon. Um, but it's having then the choices that you can add this in for less than a cup of coffee. So if you go to any fast coffee shops, Starbucks, Costa, all the different ones that are around there, I don't know how much they are in the States. I actually went and had a coffee at a meeting this morning and it was £5.
Hmm.
So £5 for a coffee. It's probably
Well,
seven or
yeah,
eight dollars.
yesterday I had a mocha from Starbucks, $6. And then I had to give her a dollar tip.
What? Yeah, yeah. So that's a lot. It's a lot, isn't it? And so
Yeah,
I
it's
kind of
it's
when people
an event.
say, because we have a subscription model with what we do, and it's the cheapest way that people can actually, the best value for them because they get a 60% discount. It also gives them, so if, for instance, someone wanted to go on the balance oil and do the test, and they would get a large balance oil as a gift, so you get the large balance oil, and then it's like $45 a month.
Wow. And with all
That's
that
not even,
confidence, that's
and
awesome.
more, send you a second test in month 5 as long as you remain on subscription. And it's been the best journey. It's been the best journey.
Well, I have a question. You mentioned the States. Is this available in the United States?
Yes,
How would someone would they connect with you to because a lot of our people would they be able to reach you and have access?
absolutely. Yes. I can send a link to them so that they can literally see what we have available. So that's, yeah, no problem whatsoever.
So we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, that's wonderful.
And
That's
so when
wonderful.
people, because this will go out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and of course TikTok. and Facebook and LinkedIn. So we will make sure wherever you're watching this from and you want to learn more about this, it's, how do you pronounce it?
Zinzino. Do you know what it means? It means a little bit of something special in Italian.
Oh, Zinzino. Zinzino.
You have to say it with
I
the
love
accent.
it. That's all right. I watch a lot of TV. Okay, how many people feel stuck? I think a lot of people feel stuck. How many people are in line at the drugstore, waiting in line to get their monthly prescription medication, and they just think this is their only option. What
Yeah.
alternatives should they be exploring? How do you think they should really think about, like, you're a brave woman. You took responsibility versus dependability. What how do you empower your clients to really feel unstuck and more empowered to do what you did?
I ask a lot of questions. So that's one thing because um, I know that, I mean, if I was to, kind of be in the same situation again, I'd be nervous about coming off my medication. Now, I've got no relationship with my doctor, but purely because I never go. I'm never ill. And so when, someone said to me, well, kind of, you ought to include your doctor in this. And I said, he's never met me. He's never met me. So why would I let him make a decision on my health, when he doesn't know me and he doesn't know my diet, he doesn't know my lifestyle. Um, so, people do make decisions on their own. But when you see people depending on medication constantly, and there's a lot to be answered for, in my view. Even down to we have an amazing product called Viva, and Viva is like a natural Prozac. So it's designed to help reduce anxiety in people. It modifies, kind of brain activity. So if people are feeling stressed out and they want to, and maybe not getting enough sleep, we can use that product to actually improve their sleep pattern, but also reduce that anxiety. And a lot of people use it during perimenopause, menopause, and I don't know who your audience are going to be, but it's just amazing. Think of the amount of people who work in corporate jobs who are there's not a lot of presenteeism, if that's the right word. A lot of people go to work, think they're doing the job, but they're really not at home
Right.
because they're stressed out that, and I know you've been in a corporate position yourself, and you know how stressful it is. All the
Mhm.
rubbish that comes with that, being
Mhm.
an entrepreneur and being in that corporate place, you having to fight fires. And if people aren't functioning at an optimum level in their life, how are they going to do an optimum job? So
Right.
presenteeism thing. So Nigel's working at the moment on presenting to corporate HR companies, and because they're highly paid, if you look at the
Mhm.
city in the UK, you know the sort of incomes that they're on, mega, mega money, way more than me, but they're so stressed out. And so when people
Mhm.
are off sick, quote unquote, because they're off sick with stress, too many demands on their work time and everything, and they're now off for 6 months. That's an expensive 6 months.
Oh,
So
that is, there's a
is
real
it?
return on the investment.
Yeah,
If you
absolutely.
want to look at it financially, I prefer your take in that you just feel better. But it different strokes for different folks. And self-care is something you always have emphasized to me, and you believe in it so strongly. And
Oh, yeah.
self-care looks like it's more than just a buzzword. What do you think truly caring for oneself looks like?
Um, Watching your diet, we all make choices, and some of them are bad choices. We know that people do that. Once in a while, it's not too much of a drama, but if you're consistently doing it, your body's going to not thank you for it. And so
Mm-mm.
we need to address that. And that's why that little balance oil is such a powerful tool, because it cuts out the necessity to be too mindful about what you're eating. But if you can give your body, and as I say, it's like a biohack, if you can give your body what it needs nutritionally, without having to change your diet, because we know diet changes are hard for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If someone says to me, you need to lose 25 pounds um, to be in a sensible weight, then everyone goes into panic mode, and all of a sudden you're craving everything that you shouldn't have.
Right.
So, and it is one of those silly things that we have to just monitor that. So, I mean, when I went on the products, within, I think it was around about 10 weeks, I was living in Spain at the time. I lived in Spain for a while.
Right. I remember.
Yeah, 4 years I was there. And I had a very Mediterranean lifestyle. I had an organic avocado farm round the corner, and I used to go and get a bag of avocados every few days, and I was eating them. Loads of seafood, fresh from the sea. And whether it's contaminated because of the all the traffic in the sea and everything, I don't know, but it was delicious. And so I thought I was doing all the good things for me that were important for my health. So when I came back and tested so badly, I was so shocked. And what we have to also understand, omega-6 and omega-3, they are essential acids, fatty acids. We don't get essential carbs, we don't get essential proteins, but we have essential fatty acids. That means you have to consume it in your diet, and it's got to be clean, it's got to be organic, it's got to be line caught fish if you're doing that, fresh, unorganic vegetables. Those are expensive now,
Mm.
and even more so in the last few months. I mean, we've
So much
seen
so.
prices rocket here. And so, yes, we're more mindful about it. So even more reason to be taking this, because it's actually a really cheap solution in my view. Um, but being mindful about that, and once I started seeing massive changes in my own health, I felt it was so simple then to be more mindful about what I ate, how I did my life, how I lived, exercise more, getting out and getting some fresh air on a daily basis, because we know working from home, and I work from home, sitting in front of a screen the whole day is not healthy. And we need to get up, we need to move around. I'm lucky enough to live on a farm, and literally I've got fields and a beautiful lake just a few minutes walk.
Mm.
So make sure that you get out and you do those things, because that's self-care in my view.
Oh,
And
it
making sure,
is. It is so much so. And I love the English countryside, and you always find yourself in such pretty places.
yeah, I
Tell
mean, where I
everyone where you are today.
Oh, so I'm in Finchingfield, which is Finch Field, ING Field, sorry, Finchingfield. And the famous chef Jamie Oliver lives in the same village. So he hasn't invited
Awesome.
me supper yet, which I'm a bit miffed about, but
Well, you're not just thriving with your health, but also in your business. How has your personal health transformation influenced your entrepreneurial success, Sue?
I think one of the things that when I started, I just saw the potential. When I realized that my own personal health was out of balance, I realized that if I was out of balance, then pretty well most of the population of the world. So I saw that bigger picture. And we've done now, we have an independent testing laboratory in Norway, which tests for our essential fatty acids. And we've got a number of tests now. So we've got a gut health test, we've got vitamin D, we've got an HbA1c test. And I know in the States, especially, those things are expensive. Expensive, if you're not covered by insurance. If you're having
Right.
to do it, that's really expensive for you guys. we're very lucky here in the UK because we've got the NHS. But even with the HbA1c test, for instance, you only get offered one. They think you are likely to be going towards type 2 diabetes. Um, so you can't check it again. You have to do it at your own expense. And so we provide a really good value solution. But it's also, as far as, kind of the US, and I've got a number of health practitioners in the US who are in our team. And one of them was saying to me, well, I would pay, as a practitioner, I would pay, if I was doing testing, it would be about $450. And I went, really? So mine at $115, that's pretty good value then.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Wow. And so explain to the audience how that works. If they like they wanted to, success leaves tracks, and you have shown us that you have success in your health, and basically you've described some of the um, oils and different supplements that you are taking and have been happy with for several years. And so we understand how to follow those successful steps. What are the successful steps if someone wanted to follow in your footsteps from the business perspective with Zinzino?
Zinzino. So we have, I mean, we're very lucky. We're part of one of the biggest teams in the company, and I'm only three from the top of the company, as far as that's concerned. So I have access to Orion Sala, who's the founder, the co-founder. I have access to Marco Passanante, another Italian. Um, and he's just one of our leaders within the team, and obviously Dave, and Dave's a massive support. And I think so many people would love to be in business for themselves, and I think nowadays, especially with the economic issues around the world, and we're no different in the UK than you are in the States, everyone's struggling. And they're struggling because they now need to have maybe two jobs or three jobs to actually bring more income into the household. And, gone are the days where mum was a stay-at-home mum, cooking her meals and looking after the children. That doesn't happen anymore, or rarely happens. So we have a proven plan. We have a 1 year plan that we actually take people through, literally from step by step, that we work with. And we can show you, with the time available to that particular person, and maybe you've only got 10 hours a week, maybe you've got longer, but we can tailor that to what we can expect to get you to within that first year. But we've got a step-by-step program that works, and more importantly, we have the support of the wider team. And I think that that's really important, because between all of us, I mean, Nigel and I have been in networking for 40 years each, well, just short of 40 years at the moment. So between us, that's 80 years. And we've got centuries of, success within different markets. So Australia, New Zealand, UK, Ireland, US, South Africa, all over, because we're a global company, and we have a kind of a level platform, if you like, that we're actually able to work in. So I can sponsor customers in the States, I can sponsor customers in Canada, all over the world, and exactly the same with partners. So if people would choose to actually want to, if they've got an interest in health, and I think you do have to have a healthy interest in health to actually want to change the narrative on health as it is now. But it's also changing the narrative on, women being, this is not meant to sound sexist, but women being considered not good enough to actually earn large amounts of money. So I'm now a 5-figure income earner, and soon to be 6-figure income, which yeah. But it's work. It doesn't come for nothing. You don't kind of sign that little pack and buy a pack and That's it. Sit and look at it. You've actually got to go and do some work. But we're here to help you do that. And we're more importantly, we guide you, we show you, we mentor you, train you. Um, but it's not only me, it's not only Nigel and myself, it's Dave, it's Orion, um, all the people in the group. So we've got hundreds of people, hundreds. I think in our team I think we're 516 or something within our personal team. And that contributes towards my income. So I can gauge how much income because we have this subscription model. It actually, you can predetermine how much you're going to have to work this month to increase that further. So it's a very clever system. We've done over 1.7 million tests worldwide. So it's not a kind of, well, let's dip our toe in the water and see.
No. Is it
It's
proven?
it's the largest database in the world of omega-6 3 ratios,
Oh,
which is,
fantastic. So
yeah,
for someone who's feeling like overwhelmed or discouraged about their health or their financial situation, what is the very first bold step they should take?
have a conversation with me. So
There
have a
you
conversation.
go.
I've got a cal.com, which is like a calendar so people can select a time that suits them and their diary. And I have a kind of a taster, half an hour, and I also do a 45 minutes, but I can always extend that. That's fine. Depending on the person and, and what their needs are, because it's about them. How can I improve and be of service to them? And I know that you have always been this person who wants to be able to serve others in the best possible way. And so exactly the same with us. So you can, to be able to show someone that they can actually improve their health and improve their wealth as well, then that's what we're all about.
Fantastic. So can we put your calendar link in the show notes?
Absolutely. I thought I'd given you all that, didn't I? I think so.
Oh, you
Do
may
you
have, but I'm just making sure that the folks listening would also be able to
have
see
that
that. And you may
now?
want to shoot over all of that to me, so I can package it up in short order. And Sue, this has been a powerful and refreshing conversation. I so appreciate your courage and your intelligence and the way that you worked and cared about health for so long. Your journey is very inspiring, and your commitment to helping other people is amazing, and I totally appreciate it. So, what I'd like to just say, if you're listening and this conversation resonated with you, connect with Sue. She will be help you explore your health, and maybe you can take a peek at what she's done. We need leaders who are willing to challenge those conventional old methods of thinking and resonate better with outcomes. I know that here in the States, we're really having a sort of a brand new fresh start for health, and I just think that this podcast is so timely. And Sue, thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to be on your show. I really am thrilled, thrilled. And it's so lovely to see you. And I wish I could give you a big hug.
Oh, I know. Let's do it. Well, with that, you'll be able to definitely catch up with Sue, and I would love it if we could get back together in maybe 12 months and see how things are continuing to evolve, because this is a very, very exciting part of our ecosystem. And like you said, it's a worldwide initiative. And so, with that, I will see you guys all next time on Bullish on Business. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you for having me.